The J&J Podcast. I'm Jeff Day.
John Colford.
Yes, veteran missionaries. Or your current missionary, right, John?
Yes, sir. 8 years full-time and going back and forth for the last 4 years. Malawi, Africa.
I'm Jeff Day. 8 years in the little village of Kaltag in Alaska, located on the Yukon River. We are coming to you from the heart of Alaska at the In Truth Studio in Fairbanks. Let's grab where we left off there, and it's amen, brother. I'm glad to hear from you. And this is round 2, and we just try to pick it up. You were going to head to the east side and try to help some of the people within your church. And can you kind of bring us up to speed with that?
Sure. Today started out with a full run of taking food and medicines to some of our deaf families, as well as some of our church members, as well as a ever-growing list of people that are shut in, whether in their apartment buildings with no access to food, or in bomb shelters in those buildings with no access to food. So we got a lot of gospel out today, and we were, shall we say, constantly serenaded by a lot of really, really, really big explosions. Been a tough day at the office.
We were able to get through. You got there safe. You headed over there midweek, and we're able to get there safe. Amen. And
yes,
reach
sir.
your people. How long are you planning on sticking around there? Are you going to head back over to the west side and continue this traveling?
Well, I am. There is a city that is about 120 miles from here, where I have been able to find, by the grace of God, an apartment to rent. And 120 miles beats 750 miles on bombed out roads any day.
Okay.
So I'm going to be returning one last time to far western Ukraine, pick up my gear and the rest of the MREs that Brother Jason and the crew brought over. And I will be relocating to central eastern Ukraine and basing operations from there over here to far eastern Ukraine.
Are you able to get food and supplies and things that you need there in the central part?
Yeah. Not quite really to the extent, obviously, of Western Ukraine, but just the time of travel, the cost of travel.
You could go back west if you had to. Easier.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just logistically, I'm hoping that it'll be much more efficient and much more profitable, and allow us to reach more souls with the gospel and have an effect on lives, on actual lives, for the same money, basically.
Well, brother, this is John. Are you going to have somebody with you? A brother?
Meaning?
Well, it's always good to go by twos, but I'm just curious if you're just going to be by yourself or have somebody with you.
The travel portion will be mostly by myself. The distribution portion is always with one of the men here in the church that is watching our building, and then we'll adapt that as we go on. Yeah, hoping to continue to travel either with my son, who's a missionary here, or one of the men in the church here, and we'll see how all the logistics there work with that.
Now, from what I've been seeing on the news, that the fighting has intensified on that east side.
It's crazy.
And so it is, there is a big push there. I like to say the last push, but who knows? And it does seem like, what about the overall morale of not only your people, maybe if you've had encounter with the military?
Yeah, I actually had a meeting with a group of military this morning. That was my very first load this morning, was to deliver to them some non-lethal aid, including body armor, helmets, and 100 tourniquets. That we did not fund that. That was provided by some other folks, and I simply had the privilege of couriering that over here to Eastern Ukraine to these military contacts. Their morale is high. They are dug in. They are committed. They are unwavering. And one of the soldiers in particular today told me verbatim, "We will go to the last man."
Wow. Well, now how about the people within your church and the people of the township, the city?
Well, the folks that I talked to today, they are very weary. They're just very weary. The air raid sirens practically do not shut off. We had 8 souls lost yesterday during the bombing. We had 42 injured, almost a dozen of which were children. So day in and day out, they bombed again today really hard while I was out. It happened not next to me, not nearby me, but close enough to where you could literally feel the shockwave just reverberate. That took some casualties as well. So the people as a whole here, they're numb to it, but they're very weary to it. The last air raid siren that went off here about a half hour ago when I was locking up the gate outside, 2 of the neighbor kids are like 6, 8 years old. Air raid sirens are going off, and they're just walking outside enjoying spring weather. It's like 48 degrees outside, and so they're just enjoying spring weather. And the air raid sirens stop, and you wait about 30 seconds, and then you hear the boom, 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 where all the incoming starts landing, and the kids just go on as if nothing's happening.
Wow. So last time we were talked, I don't remember if it was on recorded or not, but you have been recognized as a chaplain to the military.
Yes, sir. That has officially come through. I've worked unofficially in that capacity, helping the volunteer brigades, some of which are known in the West and some aren't, as well as regular military, just because of men that I know personally that serve. But now it has become legally official and recognized by the Supreme Commander of the Ukrainian forces, and therefore I do have overt and open access to military personnel and access to bases.
Amen. Wow, that has to be.
And that is, by the way, I'd like to add, I am the sole, as in one and only, here in Far Eastern Ukraine.
Wow. So if you're going to set up over there in Central Eastern, what about finances? You'll be able to receive, is any banks open or anything for finances?
I haven't. Our bank is the largest private bank throughout Ukraine, and they do have branches there. I'm going to assume, I've not yet had a chance to check personally, but I'm going to assume that they are operational, and as such, I should be able to order at least $1,000 a day to receive funding. That's an assumption, but I believe it's substantiated.
The reason I ask is, I mean, when you are in the heat of it like that, it has to be just being able to purchase goods or being able to go back and purchase goods, and it's all to the distribution of what you have to help out. And
Correct.
When you're trying to reach those soldiers or reach other refugees or other people with the gospel, having something to give them besides just a tract and being able to help them or just help people, period. All it takes is money.
It does. And let me share, if I can, please.
Please go ahead.
The testimony of one woman. Her name is Sveta. She's approximately 40 years old, and she lives in the same building as one of our deaf families. And she saw us there last week delivering food and supplies to that deaf family that lives on the 8th floor of a building that has no elevator because there's no electricity. And that's the building where I had to take a 100-pound bag of potatoes up 8 stories to deliver, and lots of stuff like that. But she talked to us outside after that, and we got a good witness in. She asked for medicine that she was not able to get. So I told her, I said, I'll come back next week and bring you the medicine if I can find it. I found it today at the very last, one and only pharmacy anywhere in this city that had her medicine.
Wow. Come on. It all works together.
And I bought it and put a food bag together with the gospel literature and went to her building, and she came out and I showed her all the food and showed her the medicine and actually took a small video with her, which I don't normally do. I try to leave them with dignity,
right,
and not make it a circus. But her testimony was this. She said that she had been out a couple days ago. This was on Tuesday, when the severest attacks occurred this week. She'd been out Tuesday over at one of the humanitarian distribution points, waiting in line with about 500 people. And she'd been there since early in the morning, waiting in line for hours on end, hoping to get some kind of food assistance when it was her turn. While they were there, the bombing started. And she says, I remember dropping to the ground and laying on the sand in the dirt, waiting for the bombing to stop and the shells to stop and the sound to stop. And when it was done, I got up and I ran home.
Oh, man.
And haven't had food since then. So she was deeply and wholeheartedly touched and appreciative of the fact that we had gone out bravely and got her food and got her medicine and delivered it to her door, so she would not, in her own words, risk her life for a piece of bread.
Well, brother, financially, how are you sitting?
Thanks, John.
What?
Jumping in.
Thank you.
I don't know what to say.
Well, it is a case, brother, of we are limited to the number of families that we can affect with life-saving food, medicine, and soul-saving gospel, only by the amount of resources that we have to do so.
Right.
So,
That was diplomatic.
I know that the war's been going on for 63 days now, and I know that the American mainstream outlets are looking for the next big story to forget Ukraine over. But our needs are greater today than they were 60 days ago.
Greater or
simply
different?
because greater.
Okay.
Greater today than then, because the people have gone a longer time without electricity. They've gone a longer time without a consistent food supply. They've gone a longer time in bomb shelters, huddling together, fearing whether or not they'll see the next day. And so we have a greater need today than we did back in the beginning, when it was just like a dam breaking open and people were flooding out of here at the tune of about 30 to 40,000 people a day. So we have something in the project works that if I can just say this, I'll just get it out. You all are the first to know. We are now actively praying and seeking the opportunity, the ability to purchase a 15-passenger van to shuttle people. And we've not had a church van since 2010. And it is high time that our church get a van to shuttle people. And we have resurrection services tomorrow, and our people have no way to get to church. All public transportation is down. And so we will continue our online services, and I thank God for online services. But I think we can all agree as Bible believers, there is no replacement for the church.
Yeah.
People gathering together, and especially this time, more than ever. Isolation is very dangerous. And the saints of God need to assemble and to encourage one another. And so I'm going to be making multiple runs. I got to start really early tomorrow morning, making multiple runs, picking at people. And so I would like to launch a project to get a 15-passenger van.
Okay, brother. Just so, because when people listen to this, the first thing probably going to go through their mind is, how much is this going to cost? People over here, they want to give, but the more information we can give to them.
Sure.
So what would you estimate, like a 15-passenger Toyota Transit van? How much would that cost?
The Toyota dealership in Germany, where we got our vehicle, wrote me an email and said, "We saw you looking at this van. Are you interested in purchasing it?" And I wrote him back and said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I was interested in purchasing it. I was just looking at it." And the manager of the dealership wrote me back and said, "If you would like to purchase it, knowing..."
Go ahead. Be bold enough.
"Knowing what you were doing, we will give you the vehicle at dealer cost." And that is $36,000.
Okay.
Is that Deutschmarks or American?
That's 36,000 euros, sir.
Euros. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm still in the past.
So basically add 10%.
Okay. How about on top of that, being in Africa, how about a complete set of spare tires with rims?
Yeah, right.
Rubber here is very expensive, and I can't speak for Africa, but rubber here is very expensive, and a good set of snow tires, for example, here run about $180 each,
right,
for one time.
Yep.
Let me jump in here, because
Yes,
I put these podcasts together, and there's a couple things that I was going to talk off air. we do a recording after this. But
Okay.
let me put it out there right now. I was talking with some other missionaries in Ukraine, and they brought up an interesting point. There's, I don't know. Let's see what's the best way to. This is all. It's hard to edit this one out because it's filmed here and it's live. But there's a ton of things I want to say. But okay, here's what you have. The missionaries that are there now. The people have fled. It's hard to say that they're going to come back. There's ones that say they want to come back. We come back to what? So
Correct.
The ones that do come back and the ones that are there, that are, this turns out positive to where they get their country back. I'll be bold enough to say that. And you're there in the thick of it right now. You have the right and the boldness when you're dealing and ministering in the future to say, I know I was there. I know I was there. And that means a lot in building a ministry. If you're one going through it. So I would encourage anybody who's there, stay. Anybody who's called to that field, get there. Go through it. And have the ability to say, I didn't go there for 2 weeks to say hi and throw and make myself feel better. Get over there if you're called to go there and get involved with some of these guys. And, these guys are going to have an open door. And I'll even be a little bolder here and keep going and say, you want to get behind the ministry? Get behind them now, and support these guys now. I know for yourself, we keep names out of this, but you have family, and there are other missionaries that are currently there that are not fully funded. That's correct. They're there. They need help. Get behind them. Why? I have to walk a tight line here because there's guys trying to get to that field. Get behind them. But there's guys already in country. Get behind them. They're already established. They're doing the work. And this is not a one and done, and we're out. This has to be the big picture, and the big picture is going to be they're going to have to clean up Ukraine with rebuilding and construction. That's not only materialistic. That's people's lives. That need to be rebuilt after this. And get behind these guys that are there. I think I'm going to have to, I'll leave it there because I'm going to get myself in trouble if I keep going here. Because I know, this podcast, it's interesting that it all turned to money that we were saying, because you can, these guys know what they need. They know what they need. And I've done logistically and trying to get things over there and dealing with other organizations and trying to get things there. I found that the best way to get anything there, grab a suitcase, pay the extra baggage, and just go. Drop it off, get it there, get involved, and money, get behind these guys that are already there. They have the ability, taking them cash is the best way. And helping them out. It made a difference when we jumped in there and tried to help you out, brother. It's obvious a whole lot of people they can't just jump on a plane and go, but they sure can give some money. And they gave some money, and you've got yourself a vehicle that has gone over. And you are currently on the eastern side, back to your church, back to the people, helping them specifically, and reaching out beyond the people within your church. And not only for the humanitarian and giving them food, but the gospel. And I said this in the gap between these podcasts, that there's organizations, humanitarian and Christian organizations, that spend tens of hundreds of millions of dollars. How many did you find over on the east side?
I haven't seen one yet.
This is what I'm saying. Here is an independent, fundamental, Bible-believing Baptist that is actually first on the scene. That's never, there's nobody who's there helping in the middle of a war zone. We're it. That's by the grace of God, period. And to get behind you, I think any dollar spent goes directly, any dollar given goes directly to the missionary who's directly helping somebody on the east side. You can give $100 million to an aid organization. What percentage actually hits the ground, and then what percentage of that's actually getting to the people that need it the most? Zero.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Really?
Baptists are always the last on the scene. I'll say it. Independent Baptists were always the last on the scene. Here we
Just
are.
because
first.
we need to pray about it, brother.
I'll give you that.
House is on fire, but I need to pray about whether I need to call the fire department.
Come on. Careful. We get us both in trouble here. But there's a lot of truth to that stuff. I mean, here's our opportunity. You know, Baptists are also, I don't want to say, okay, you got me on a roll here. I'll keep going.
Well, it's hard to wrap your, brother, it's hard to wrap your head around why God allows something like this. And that
You're right.
He sees the picture far beyond we could ever do. But, talking with you, and it just reminds me what Mordecai said to Esther, to paraphrase, yes, such a time as this.
Yes, sir.
This is the time we've got to do everything we can, both humanitarian and spiritually, to reach out to these people, because it's going to plant a lot of seeds. And, a lot of people I believe a lot of people are going to, even if you don't have direct contact with them, by word of mouth and by visual means, seeing you drive around or delivering stuff, they're going to say, well, the only one that was here was this Baptist missionary that's got rocks in his head. Why would he leave Western and come Eastern? There's either something wrong with this guy, or he really believes in his God. And so, the only thing we can do over here in America, besides pray, is financially to make sure that we get funds into your hand, and that we know that God is going to guide and direct you as far as what direction it's to go.
Well, we are, I like to, add here, if I can, as much as humanly as possible, I use our church bank card for all of our purchases. So there is a clear record of what is being spent. And there are instances at outdoor markets where it's cash only.
Stop. You don't have to justify. You don't have to justify any of that to us.
But I just want to let people know.
Understand? Okay, you're doing your job.
Okay, that there is a record. Okay, and this morning when I dropped off those supplies for that military brigade, okay, I asked one of them. She's a remarkable person. I've known her for some years now, and she's a soldier and a half. I can assure you that. She took first place last fall in a Arnold Schwarzenegger weightlifting classic of some kind, and kid you not, and she took first place and set Ukrainian records and was rewarded by Kiev as literally the strongest woman in Ukraine.
Wow.
Okay. And she's standing there in her body armor and her, got her AK automatic with her and all of her gear on. And I mean, she's like, full Rambo, and she looks it. She's not, Molly Homemaker. This is a soldier in the battle. Okay. And no discounting or any, ladies, trust me, my wife's a homemaker. That's the greatest responsibility on earth. So don't mistake what I'm saying.
Got it.
Okay. But here, okay, is necessary that this woman's out defending her country. Anyway, I asked her, I said, my next trip in, what can we bring, not just for your unit, but for you, just to be a blessing to you? Is there something that we can bring? Anything, name it. How can we help? How can we help? And she looked at me and she said, you do what you are doing, and that's the help I want. You
Wow.
do what you're doing and keep doing that, and that's the help I want.
Amen. Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to follow up with that by saying that's a testimony. Okay. That's a testimony.
Yep.
When this soldier has an opportunity to say, well, bring me this or bring me that, she's able to see a larger picture for her own nation and recognize the benefit
Of what you're doing.
of what I'm doing as a chaplain, a military chaplain, and the humanitarian work that we're doing. And she says, you keep doing what you're doing. That is the biggest help.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well, I think we should wrap this up because it ties into the whole podcast here. If you want to stick around with us for a little bit here, brother, if you would. So schedule-wise, you're going to be heading back and picking up more supplies, your wife,
Correct.
and get centrally located and
Correct.
just have a greater outreach to that area.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you sharing this with us, and stay as safe as you can.
Thank you.
We are praying for you, and we will continue as on, try to grab another podcast in a little bit.
Sounds great.
Our intentions are to head back over there with teams. We currently have 3 teams that are scheduled to go over there.
Right.
And not to be involved with the missionary in the current podcast, just because he is in some pretty dangerous country, but to support him, we're gonna do some work on the west side.
Yeah, there's not a lot that we can drive over, walk over, have people go over and help him, since he's in a pretty sketchy situation. But we can definitely back him financially and with things that he asked for, which we're doing.
That, and we're going to put we have 3 teams going over to help on the western side, try to get established, get a little stronger foothold for ourselves, because we've had such a tremendous outreach from other churches wanting to get involved with money, people,
Amen.
and equipment and humanitarian outreach, everything above. That's what we need. That's what we need, is some help from this. This thing has gotten big.
It has,
but not
it
big
has.
enough.
Yeah.
And it's been crazy because it's God's been moving forward, and it's like, catch up, guys, come on. And that's what we're trying to do. So if anybody has any interest in trying to reach out or would like to reach out there, and especially for the long run, because that's what's going to happen here. It's nice to go over on a mission trip, and I'm not against that. But this is going to be a long play. And that's kind of where we're gearing for, is the long play on this. But immediately we're taking everything to help out humanitarian wise and financial wise, and just giving it to all the necessary parties and doing it.
And that being said, like, every penny and dime and dollar that you do give is going over there. And you're touching the east side of the country, you're touching the west side of the country, you're touching refugees in Poland, you're touching a huge area when you give. And we're trying to put some stuff together so that you can see that, see the results of your giving, but don't have any doubt. Everything you give is going over there and making a big difference.
It's an immediate need.
Yeah.
And I made the comment the other day. I was reading a biography on Eisenhower, I believe it was, and talking about World War II. And he said, war is waste. War is a waste. Throw tons of equipment, and everything in the world comes back to dollars, the money. And it's like, wow, you're just throwing money at it. There's a better way to spend money. And my philosophy is, war is waste. This is war, spiritual war.
Right. So being as frugal as we can, getting as much as we can with the money that you're giving to make as big of impact as we can, over there. And like the missionary said during the last section of the podcast, we said, how much can you affect people? And he basically said, however much I have to affect people.
Correct.
And so he's limited by the funding that he gets.
Correct.
And so, yeah, that's where we step in on this side of the world. And we say, hey, I have something I can help out with this.
That, and I can't say it enough. I even said it during the podcast. It was, you can spend $100 million. You can give to the Red Cross. I'm not against that, except for the fact that 90% of what you give just stayed in the States.
Right.
And 10% went over.
It's really interesting because we as Americans living in Alaska, never being over on that side, we can say that. We don't really get credit. They say, oh, yeah, whatever. You're just a little church up there in Alaska that is jealous, right? We have a missionary over there.
Come on.
And he says from the eastern side, he says, oh, yeah, no one's here.
Nobody's there.
I'm the only one.
Nobody.
And he said, oh, well, it looks like there's a green light as far as how to touch the eastern side of Ukraine if you want to touch it.
And we're set up for the western side, but 100% of everything that's given, and then some, goes directly to the people and to the effort.
Absolutely.
And to the furthering of the gospel.
And it's interesting that the guys on the east side are in more danger, but the need is everywhere.
Correct.
The need is not just on the east side. Yeah. The need is in Poland. The need is in Hungary. The need is you got refugees all over the place. Moldova, the highest refugees per capita. I mean, the need is all over the place.
For such a time as this.
Yeah. And that's where we step in.
I believe God is going to continue to bless, and he is blessing. And it would be fun to partner up with some other churches and see how far this thing actually will go.
Amen. Amen.
So if you are taking the time and listening to this podcast and you would like to get involved, please feel free to reach out to us.
We have a page on the website, BibleBaptistFairbanks.com. You're welcome to go there. We have a banner across the top. You click on that, it'll take you right to our Ukraine update page where we're looking to post videos and things about where your money has gone that you have given, but also an opportunity for those of you wanting to get involved to make an immediate difference. There's a button there that says click Give Now, and then you're right there. You can make a donation that will go over and touch Ukraine and the refugees and get the gospel out ultimately.
Would you like to get involved yourself? Call Stephen.
Yeah, my number's on the website.
Call Stephen.
I'm the missions director here at Bible Baptist Church, or coordinator, and so it's been my privilege to handle a lot of this Ukraine stuff. It's really been exciting to see what God's doing over there, and I'd love to have more of you reach out and contact me and get involved with this.
If you want to get a hold of me, that's Jeff Day. You can reach me at info@jjpodcast.com. info@jjpodcast.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you have some ideas, please feel free to reach out. Until then, thank you for listening. Awesome. This podcast is for preachers, missionaries, and laymen. If you wish to contact us, you can reach us at jjpodcast.com or email us at info@jjpodcast.com. If you're a current missionary on the field or on deputation and have something you can share with us, please feel free to reach out to us. If you're a pastor and have some insight that you can share with these missionaries to help them, please feel free to reach out to us. If you're in a pew and have a subject you would like to have discussed, please feel free to email us at info@jjpodcast.com. That's info@jjpodcast.com.